Hey guys, it's Krystal Lucier here, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor, Krystal Moore. This is Realtor Life, and guys, we have a treat today. Welcome, Wade Webb. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Krystal.
Absolutely. So Wade works with Agents Boost with Coach Ken Goodfellow in Toronto. But he's also part of our Royal LePage family out in Kelowna. Um, And Wade, you're busy.
Lots going
Lots
on,
on the
lots of
go.
hats. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was really, we actually had Wade join us in our office. So Peter Meyer, who's our broker, set it up. So we had this year and last year, Wade helped us with business planning. No, Wade, how many offices do you help with the business planning?
So usually about a half a dozen each year consistently come on. So some in person and some
Yeah.
remotely, and that depends on where the location is. So yeah,
Mhm.
I do it. There's a regular following in that. So it's interesting because It I never thought that business planning would turn into an actual workshop venue and a market for it, but it's just one of
Yeah.
those things that I've spent a lot of time studying and researching and developing the program and the workshop like I'd given you guys
Yeah.
the last couple of years in that. And so yeah, it's a fun for me and it's a fun exercise and it's just one of those things that ironically I don't think is taught well or
Yeah.
taught regularly.
It's funny. I was just talking about this, I think, in my last episode, where everyone and their uncle seems to be offering business planning. And so this person sends it, and you get so many of these templates, but at the same time, then you have to get realtors to do almost the impossible, and that's on their own, find time to fill something out.
Right.
So it's not happening. Like,
Yeah, no, it's the execution and the implementation after the fact
yeah,
is the biggest challenge, right? I mean, it's great that you have the templates, that you have the guidance in that, but I
yeah,
mean, at the end of the day, it's like I remember asking you guys, how many of you have learned a ton of things that you have not implemented and executed
yeah,
yet? So it's not a lack of agents knowing that they need to learn more. It's that
yeah.
they actually need to go back and figure out, I've learned all of this and all these programs and courses that I've taken, and there is so much that I have not actually implemented and
Now what?
executed.
Yep. Because the thing is, yeah, you just have like it's kind of like when you go, whether it's a workshop or a conference, you get all pumped up, you write down the notes, it's great, and then you tuck the book away
Yeah.
and then you look at it again next time you pull it out, or next time you go and go to the next conference, you're like, oh,
Yeah, right. I didn't do anything with that
yeah,
concept the last time, and I put a little asterisk beside it saying I should do that, and I
yeah,
did nothing with it, right? So, yeah, it's a definite issue for most entrepreneurs and most agents for sure. That's why I always say like take one, two, maximum three things that you got from today and just promise yourself, not me or anybody else, that you're going to actually implement it and actually execute it and do it, right? And get it
yeah.
done.
And I think that's where it comes in. Like it's wonderful that you do the coaching, and that you have the workshops because I think at the end of the day, even and I'll say even I'm like a goal getter. Like I write the goal, I get the goal. But even me, I need that coach accountability. Someone who's going to say, "Hey, you said you were going to do this.
Right.
Did you do it?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And right,
It
because
was
it's easy
funny.
to tell ourselves no.
Oh, for sure. And we're so good at justifying why we haven't or whatever else
Absolutely.
that it's easy. That's the easy part. I mean, well, my dog ate it and this happened and this,
Yep. I'm
right? And that,
busy. Like look at all the things I'm
all the
doing.
time. Yeah, all the time. And there's, I remember in my opening slide, when I talk about it, I'm like, if you just, my favorite coaching session with top producers that are either just plateauing or they're in a funk, and I'll
Yeah.
say to them like, hey, what were the like five or six things that you did when you started out
Yes.
that worked for you and that you were doing? And how many of those things are you still doing? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, end of conversation. And so my favorite moment was I was in Victoria last month in BC in the West Coast, and this guy runs up and he says, hey, I just want you to know I was in this last year and I just did one thing, man. I started to do the things that I used to do again, and
Yeah.
they're working just like they did before, and my business improved this year. I'm like,
Yep.
awesome. Like it sometimes I always say, don't underestimate the power of the simple. Like, really?
Yes.
Is it that simple that I just got to start doing the 5 or 6 things that I stopped doing because I'm too cool for school for that now? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a big deal. Like, I've been doing this a couple years. I don't have to do opens anymore, man. Like, I don't, people don't like, they just call me and that, and you start getting apathetic and complacent and it starts to bite you and you start seeing things going off because your activity and your implementation's going off too, right?
Yes. We actually were just talking about that, the apathy among agents right now, where like even people that are not killing it, like even close to killing it, it's like there's still not that drive. It's like you're not doing anything, but you're
Right.
too busy to come into the office. You're too busy to host an open house. You're too busy to do this course. And that's it's a problem right now. But if we can find a way to kind of even like plant a tiny seed of hope, like to go back, maybe you take a day or even an
Sure.
hour and you think back, what did I do? What did I do when I first started that helped me out?
hmm And worked. And then
Yeah,
my question is, okay, so like we have a kiosk in Kelowna here, right? A mall kiosk. And I'm like,
nice.
so I can ask most of them, where'd you get your first deal from, your first listing? And they're like, oh, I was at the mall. And then my next question is, when's the last time you did the mall? And I'm
Yeah,
like, well, I mean, like, it's that. And I'm like, see, there it is, right again, right? The same thing. And the response is that, and I don't know what it is, the complacency or you've arrived or this,
yeah,
that, and that. Success is doing consistently the same. I know after me being 32
yeah,
years and going on 33 years, the same thing over and over again and consistently doing it. But that's the definition of
yeah.
success, right? And we just get bored or we're just getting so complacent or not doing things that.
Yeah.
And you talk about the gap, like this market is exposing the gap where people that are implementing and executing and people that aren't, right? And you're choosing to be where that is. And the gap to me is where you're either killing it or you're getting killed. And that's the only
That's
two
actually
quadrants.
good.
That's the
Yes.
only two quadrants that exist in this marketplace now. But who chooses?
Yeah.
I choose. I choose whether I'm in the killing it category or I'm in
Yeah.
the getting killed category. It's a choice.
I like that a lot actually, because I think ultimately, like I was just talking to someone about open houses and they were like, well, I don't like I get people to like sign in online. And I learned years ago. So when I first started, I started in Ottawa with Keller Williams.
hmm
So, and with Keller Williams as a new agent back in 2012, this was fantastic because they had so many things. But the thing I loved the most, they had an open house survey. And I've taken it and I've been using it for 15 years as my own. But the key with it and the way it works is you don't get them to fill it out themselves, right? They're just conversation pieces. And when I was in Guelph, our broker, Rob Atkinson, had these 6 questions. So I took the 6 questions, I took the survey, and I've been able to like build rapport. But in a meeting, we were talking, and the agents are like, well, like people come in, but I don't get any deals from it. And I'm like, okay. But like, are you like every time someone walks into your open house, like you have this just you guys. Like it's just you, it's just them. You have like whether something happens or not, you're practicing, right?
hmm
You can build that rapport. And it was just interesting to see like the wheels start to turn because it's like you're not just like it's not like bag him and tag him. It's not transactional.
Right. Right. And it's connection and relational, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And the
Exactly.
irony of it is that like if you're not I'll use this, if you're not a natural born hunter, so
Yep.
you're not naturally inclined to just walk into a room and chitty chat with 50 people out of 100 people in the room and that,
Yeah.
if you're not inclined, there is only a handful of things that you can do where the consumer actually comes to you.
Yes.
And that is one of them. So
Yep.
if you're not a naturally extroverted or a natural person, a people person, or things like that, then you only have a handful of opportunities to lead gen and prospect where
Yep.
the actual consumer comes to you. And that's one of them,
Absolutely.
right? Where
Absolutely.
where you have their undivided attention, you're capturing them that, and you're being able to do that. And then the other thing is that it's the largest financial decision of their lives. So would it make sense that they need to spend a little bit of time with you to feel whether they like you,
Yeah.
trust you, have a
Yeah.
connection with you, or things like that? And that only allow, like, unfortunately, this doesn't do that. It
No.
doesn't allow me to tell me whether I like you and trust you in that because there's no communication, there's no voice, there's no tone, there's no eye contact, no body language, anything like that.
Yeah,
86% of communication is all of that.
exactly.
All of that. And you're using 86% odds on a face-to-face opportunity at an open house versus 14% on internet and texting
Yeah,
and emailing and that. Like game changer, right? From the conversion and connection standpoint, right?
absolutely. I used to love, so when I first moved to Guelph, so I'm in London now. I've hopped across three cities, but in Guelph we had a mall kiosk and I loved the mall kiosk. They ended up getting rid
Sure.
of it. But it was same thing. Like I think it depends on your comfort zone, but growing up, I worked at Shoppers Drug Mart. So I was used to people coming into me.
Yes. To
It
your
was just a
tail.
comfort, right? Like they've
Yeah.
made the first step. Here they are. Like
Right.
can we make something happen?
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting. So if I may, I just
Yeah.
finished like Sarah Reynolds. I don't know if you know Sarah and Victoria, but she brought me like kudos to her. She told me to read this book called The Full Fee Agent. It's written by
Yes.
Krystal, right?
I
And
love
so
that book.
yeah, exactly. But there's one thing in there that's really, really changed how I'm coaching and teaching and presenting in that. And it's just this secret sauce with Chris Voss's suggestion on salespeople are addicted to you're right. The answer,
Yeah.
you're right. And that's
Yeah.
self-servient and it's ego boosting and everything else. And that where we're supposed to be addicted to the question that gets the response, that's right. So the customer, when they're saying, yes, that's right, and that then they feel like they're being heard, they're being understood, they're
Yes.
being the connection there and the comfort there, and that is that like I'll share this full disclosure.
Yeah.
Men, guys tend to just want to give them the answer and fix it, right? And people don't want to be told, people don't want to be fixed. They want to be heard,
Yeah.
understood, and in return, they will trust you because they
Yeah.
feel like you're listening, that you're being heard and understanding in that. So get off the who, what, why questions and then get on the how and the would questions that
Oh,
are
I love
saying,
that.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Like, don't get off the addiction train of you're right, you're right. I'm right. I'm awesome, right? Like, right?
Good.
Yeah, I'm so special that I'm so smart. And who gives a shit? Like, at the end of the day, Barney, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on your.
You're fine. You're fine. We're all
It's a
friends here.
great PG rating there. But at the end of the day, it's like you gotta be able to understand how to ask the how questions or the
Yes.
would questions and make them feel like they've been understood and heard when they're in that. And then they'll feel like they wanna, you know what? I
Yeah.
like her. I like him. I feel like somebody we'd want to work with, or I trust them that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm there for is to try to create that connection, that being heard, that being
Yes.
understood, and that
The
trust.
rapport. Yeah.
That's the gold nugget opportunity that you have 1v1 in that moment, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I think what happens a lot, and I know I don't know about your market, but here in London, what we will have a lot of, so we'll have a lot of people with like from the GTA, agents from the GTA who will send their clients to open houses. And then it can be discouraging for agents like, oh, I hosted the open house, but then like there was five people. They all had client. They had agents. But the
Sure.
thing is, I'm like, get the agent's name because then
Sure.
maybe you're like you can be a great person, like you're practicing, but then you've just made five potential agent connections in
Right.
the city that you work in that they don't.
Right. For
Right?
referrals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. So like
there's always a way.
well, you're trying to figure out where's the opportunity in that
Yes.
scenario, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Is that how do I make one thing that's so frustrating a good thing and a positive thing and an
Yes.
opportunity? And how do I pivot that? And how do I shift that and that? And I
Yeah.
think that's what we talked about in business planning is that like we can just wallow in what's wallowable. There's no shortage of being woe's me
Yeah.
and what we can talk about.
Yeah.
Where are the opportunities? So agents are sending their people and they're coming to my open house and they have an agent. So how do I take that situation that I can just be angry and frustrated and
Yeah.
mad about and it's a waste of my time? And how do I pivot and turn that and shift my perspective? And where's the opportunity in what's happening in that
Yeah.
situation? And how do I control how I react and respond to that situation? Right. So, like, hey, I'll follow them up. Hey, I'll say, hey, next time, do you want to just send them to me? And then I'll send you a referral fee in that or
Yeah.
keep me in mind. Like, where's the opportunity in every one of those
Absolutely.
scenarios and that in the markets? Where's the opportunity in the market next year in London? Where's the opportunity? If
Yeah.
we're a consumer, we're an agent, we're an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, where are the opportunities? Where's the money going? Where's the opportunities going? What's happening? What's doing that and that?
Exactly.
And you get so fixated in, oh, this sucks and it's a waste of time. And what am I doing to this open house? And
Yeah.
they send realtors, right? And that, but where's the opportunity? There's always a,
Yeah.
what did I learn? What am I going to do different? And what's next?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Some
so this is
similar.
what's happening on my open houses. So what am I learning from that open house?
Yeah.
What am I going to do different in that open house now? And what am I going to do next, right? Like, so you got a choice, a decision to just open houses suck. Realtors
Yeah.
from GTA sending me their clients into my open houses, that sucks, and this is a waste of time and this and that. And that.
Yeah.
You're right. Or you could be like, what do I learn? What am I going to do different? And what am I next? And where's the opportunity and what's happening to the open house? And how can I turn that into
Absolutely.
something that's productive and being able to get results moving forward?
And that I think that's the beauty of even talking like this, because as much as I say it, sometimes I'm like, these are great ideas. I know that my last two or three open houses, I didn't like other than reaching out to the agent about like, hey, like, is there any, let me know if there's other interest. I probably could have spent more time with the rapport side,
Right.
right? So
Do you have an agent of choice in London
yes,
that may be able to take care of these people in these in the future?
yeah,
That like I would be more than happy. What's your expectation of a referral fee? What's your
yeah,
expectation? We're looking for the right agent for this
yeah,
area and for your clients of choice and that. Like I and build that rapport and ask those questions and
yeah,
how would it feel and how would it work for you and that? And would it be appropriate if I could be able to, right? So use
yeah,
those how and would questions to
absolutely.
connect and make that agent feel like, hey, this person's they care. They're understanding. They're not
Yeah,
ripping me a new one. When I phone you and rip you a new one for sending your clients, and just so you know that your fee is going to change if you don't represent your clients and don't show the property. So I don't know if in London you have that. In BC we have it.
sometimes there are
Yeah,
some
some of the
agents. Yeah,
listings
some
where
of
it
the
says
listings
that
look
the
good.
commission structure
Yeah,
changes based on whether you were pre. So like all I did was reinforce that agent in the GTA, you're a nut bar, and I'm not going to send you any of my clients or referrals your way to London.
yep, 100%.
So
It's
why would I do that?
the
Oh, like
forward
stay away from
thinking.
Krystal. She's a nut bar, man. She phoned me and ripped me a new one, told me the commission structure changes and got all mad at me and everything. That's the last person I'm sending a referral to in London in that area.
Yeah,
She's wacko, right?
absolutely. To your point, I think it's just that forward thinking, right? So like if you can think beyond today, because I've also had situations where like I mean I think COVID was the worst. I don't know if this was like this for you guys, but I remember like for our listings it was great. For our
Sure,
buyers it was awful.
sure.
And sometimes you'd have like you would just the treatment you'd get from a listing agent was so poor.
Right,
And I used it in kind of mentoring agents. I said, here's the thing. Like today, that agent is the king of the castle, and that's fantastic and that's great. And I mean, they probably didn't have to work that hard to even get to that level this year.
right.
But tomorrow, they could have a buyer on your listing. And I don't think like as much as everyone's stressed, you're not going to forget how you were treated.
Yep.
So do you think they're going to get preferential treatment after you know that they basically treated you like dirt?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Well,
we're
and
all
you're
in
in a
this
multiple. Do
together.
you think the listing agent's going to say, hey, I've had a personal experience with this woman and she says this and that. And so I think we should
Yeah,
go with this offer and we should try
yeah,
this. Do you think
yeah.
that doesn't actually happen?
100% it does,
Your
especially
reputation is always how you leave people and how you
always.
make them feel. And right, you have to be known as, I want to do a deal with that
Yes.
agent and that listing so bad. It's so
Yeah.
awesome to deal with them and that,
Yeah. They're
right? That's the
professional, above
experience you
board,
want to leave with them.
integrity.
Yeah,
Yes. All the things. All
all
the
of that.
things.
Yeah.
Um, and it's such a good point too, because I know like you said, go back to the beginning about what you were doing. I would say even when agents have a lot of experience, sometimes you just forget that you did things. So
Hmm.
you need that reminder.
Yeah. Well, and stay humble.
Yeah.
Stay humble.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
Remember where you came from. Remember that you were a rookie. Remember that you weren't that
Yeah,
really good before, kind of thing,
yeah,
right? And keeping that humility and reminding him that, right? It's a very, very great quality about uber successful people. You don't know that they're uber successful. They're just so humble. They're so
yeah,
right, just natural and that's an important trait of uber successful persons. Uber rich people, wealthy people, they don't just go around saying I'm rich and I'm wealthy and that. They don't talk about that.
yeah,
Uber successful people don't do that either, right? They're super
exactly.
humble, super kind, and that, like Voss's book has said, like the best negotiator is the person that's nice.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah. They're not
nice.
trying to like beat you down. Absolutely.
Yes, yes, yes. And that, and remember that you weren't all that in a bag of chips 5, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
right? You were where they
Absolutely.
were then back then too, right? And how do you foster collaboration and
Yes.
putting something together when you're being like that? Doesn't help your
Exactly.
chances.
No, it absolutely doesn't. On that note, though, in talking about like the road to success, I would love to dig in. How did you, like, you have a very cool situation where you are in the real estate industry, but then you're also in the coaching realm. So how did things start out? Like, did you always know you wanted to be a realtor? Take us back, Wade. Take us back. How did it all
So
start?
yeah, so in the late 80s, I was in university in a music program in University of British Columbia taking music and education because my mom's a piano teacher, right? So I
Oh,
was going to be
okay.
a high school band teacher. So
Okay.
my last year in school, my fourth year in Vancouver, I set up and got an interview with the company Collier's Encyclopedias, and I got into working for them as a university student in the summer. So I thought we were going to sell books door to door, encyclopedias
Yeah.
in Vancouver. They put us in a vehicle and shipped us out to Saskatchewan. So I was doing door to door Saskatchewan book sales, encyclopedia sales to farmers in the most smallest remote, right, farming communities in Saskatchewan for 3 months on the road. And
Can I just interrupt for 1 second? For anyone
yeah,
listening, I know I would say most people my age and older know exactly what you're saying.
yes,
Encyclopedia was like a paper book form of Google,
yes,
and there was
on a
one
shelf.
volume on a shelf, one volume per letter of the alphabet.
Yes,
So
yeah,
it was everyone had them. They were
yes,
amazing, but
yes.
you were searching up. We had to use them for projects at school.
Yes, and reports and things like that, right? Back in the day. So here I am, full disclosure. I didn't know the internet was coming. I'm selling these people in Saskatchewan $1,999 for a set, right? In the 90s. Like that's $1 million
That,
today, right? Kind of thing.
yeah,
And they're farmers, poor farmers and that. But I'm on a mission from God against the literacy, and I'm like,
yeah.
to help these families and things like that. So I'm like, oh man, I'm pretty good at this. So this is kind of fun. And that, so I called my dad, who was in real estate. He had sold for years and years, and he had just gotten real estate 2 years prior to me doing this sales job. And I called him from a locust infested phone booth in Kindersley or something in Saskatchewan. And I'm like, hey man, like, I think I found my thing. I'm going to get into sales, and I think I'm going to come back to BC and back to Canada, or back to Penticton, and I'm going to get my real estate license and tell mom I'm super sorry. I don't want to be a high school band teacher. I'm going to be a salesperson. My, oh no, you got to finish your degree. You got to be a high school band teacher, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do it. Right. So didn't get my fifth year education, got my 4 year bachelor of music and that, didn't become the teacher, got licensed in Penticton. And my dad and I joined together for 8 years with a franchise called Realty World in the
Nice.
90s. Right. And worked there in Penticton in my hometown where I graduated in that. And then all of a sudden in 2000, my wife and I had one child and starting to have our second child. And we left Penticton to move to Kelowna, the bigger city than little Penticton that. And so
Okay.
Penticton's like newlyweds and nearly deads, and then Kelowna's like the big city, right? Kind of thing. So we're like,
I
okay,
love that.
we need to get out of the newlyweds and the newly deads and just get nearly deads and get up to Kelowna and that in a big city and that. So we moved in 2000. I sold for Royal LePage because we got bought out by LePage in 97, Realty
Okay.
World in Western BC and Canada and Alberta and Manitoba. And anyway, Western Canada. And then I sold till 2004. And then full disclosure, I was doing almost a million GCI, had a small team and selling and that, did chairman's level, but I was super unhealthy and super completely unbalanced in that. And I ended up actually being hospitalized.
Oh
And
no.
yeah, so then having a heart attack and thinking I was, and then my wife's like, well, I don't really want to be a part of this program. So I'm like, here I am dying and divorcing and having a problem in that. But
Oh,
I thought if I just got to the $1 million GCI range, that I was the most successful person in real estate I knew, and I
quick
was
hit.
so unbalanced, so unhealthy, and so out of control that I ended up leaving sales in '04 and buying the brokerage here in Kelowna. So I had done well enough to be able to afford to buy the brokerage and to
Nice.
get into that. So we had at one time 325 agents and four branches here. And
Nice.
so a big operation in that and been doing that. But then all of a sudden, like the coaching, the workshops, the different things started like, what do you do and how do you do it? And could you share within that? And so
Yeah.
that started to become something that I didn't see was going to happen. And so the coaching and the workshopping and the training and doing
Yeah.
all these things started to develop into another division, another arm in that. And so
Okay.
what I did was I called the guy by the name of John Cheplack. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I have
I
not.
called Chep and said, this is what I want to do. So he was the guy that said, brand yourself. So that's where I came up with the Agents Boost brand,
Yeah.
right? At the
Okay.
same time, I had written that book, The Lazy Realtor, which was a tribute to my dad and all the things that he taught me in the early years of doing that. So
Yeah.
published, did the branding, got into the coaching, the training, and things like that. And it started to grow and grow. And then I still do this. It's been over 10 years now. Every Wednesday, so today, I post a contribution of a blog post, right? And put out
Nice.
content. So if there's any bloggers or any content creators and things like that, so I've been sharing Wade's Wednesday's Words of Wisdom, say that 100 times, on Wednesdays, right? And doing that for over 10 years. And
Okay.
that content now is being read by over 12,000 agents in 109 countries. And I originally just did that to try to do a retention and a recruitment opportunity locally, and it just
Yeah.
went completely viral and on a larger level, and never would have saw that coming. Never would have saw that
Hey.
happening, right? So content creators, it's like if you're
Where?
consistent and you're
Yeah.
going over and over again, it
Going.
gets a lot bigger reach than I would have ever imagined.
That's really,
Ever.
what platform do you use?
So Aweber
Okay.
and so it goes out on the Aweber platform and it gets sent out an email that, and they subscribe through it. And so that was something that we put Aweber was out like 10, 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like MailChimp or
Oh,
similar type
cool.
of right? And so the subscriptions just grew and the reach grew and that and it's just become this like thing. And I'm like, wow, I never saw that coming kind of thing.
That's cool.
So
Okay.
yeah. So it's neat because I've been in the salesperson's shoes, I've been in the broker's shoes, I've been
Uh,
in the all of the arenas and that, and I love it because I talk to like a lot of agents a month.
yeah.
So I'm getting insight on what's working and what's not working and where
Yeah.
it's what's shifting and what's pivoting and moving in that. And it's like give you an example. It's the same, but it's different. Right. So I'll say like door knocking. So I'll give you one example for agents on the call and listening, right?
Yeah.
So door knocking, there's it's everything is math. Real estate is math. It's a numbers game, right? If that makes
There's a
sense.
quote.
So,
Guys,
right?
kids,
It's
stay in
math and it's a
school.
numbers game.
Real
Right.
estate is math. I like it.
Yes, it is. It's math. And
It's
so
true.
so mathematically, I've been tracking with coaching clients and agents that I'm interacting with, and that anywhere between 50 to 75 doors, okay,
Yep.
you should get an opportunity. Okay.
Okay.
To do a listing appointment. Now, imagine how long it takes me to knock and talk that many doors. Okay.
Yes.
So I am getting coaching clients and agents to letter tuck and reverse door knock,
Yes. I remember this.
right? So you take a unbranded non-branded, plain white piece of paper with a
Yep.
letter like that you have a bona fide buyer. Now, don't bait and switch. Use a bona fide buyer.
Yep.
And tucking in the front door, 75 doors. And then
Yep.
if you have time to reverse knock and talk. So if they answer, I pull the note out of their door and I tell them why I'm there.
Yeah.
But I know that I need to have 75 letter tucks to get my
Okay.
magical phone call. Hey, got your letter. You have a buyer. Come tell
Yep.
me what my place is worth. Does that make sense? So way too long to knock and talk. but I can tuck and reverse door knock. And then whoever answered as I knocked backwards. So the
Yep.
last 75th door, I start knocking 75th door, 74th door, and pulling the letters. Before I leave the neighborhood, I tuck the letters that I pulled out of doors that I talked to people, put them
Yep.
in a couple more doors and that. And I know that I like my chances because the numbers don't lie,
Love it.
right?
Um, have you ever heard of the instant inventory course with Buffini?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that letter, so kind
Yes.
of a similar thing where you do the
Yes.
letter, plain white, you sign it, and you can put a little post-it on
Yes.
the letter and just say, "Give me a call with your cell phone number."
Yes. So I have a
And
coaching client that had a printing shop print the his name, call me with his cell number on the stickies and just put them on the
what a
letters. And
great idea. I
yes,
love
in
that.
his handwriting, right? So he
That's
doesn't handwrite all of those sticky notes to put on
save
those
the
letters.
wrist. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
And it's
good.
crazy because human behavior is that it said, well, it said to call you. And they're like, you're kidding me. Like, can I ask why you called? Well, your note said to call you.
So I did.
It's psychologically that crazy that because your sticky note said to call you, I called you.
Yes.
So there are our rule followers. My son, who's an engineer, he's a rule follower. So if
Yeah.
you put on there to call you, Jude would probably call you because it said,
Right.
you told me to call you, right?
That's
And that's
amazing.
what I'm in. I'm in the calling creating business. I know
Yeah.
how to create the call. So
Yeah.
if you just
That's really cool.
ask or tell them and that's sticky, they will call you. It's ironic.
That's really cool. And I mean, and I think the key is that, like, and I think an important thing you said is make sure you have a buyer
Yes.
because you don't want, like, you don't want to break that trust the second they do
Yes.
call, and then it's just a sales call with no,
Yes. Right.
right? Yeah.
Right. And I'll go a step further. So think of the human behavior of the consumer, right? So the first time your note goes out there, like, really? Come on. Like I didn't fall off the turnip truck. So I have a team in GTA that I coach that letter tucks Tuesdays. They tuck Tuesday and they tuck the first week. They tuck the second week. They tuck the third week. The third week we get 6 or 7 calls. The first or second week we might get one. But ironically, you have to understand your consumer's behavior. First time
Yes.
you tuck, I'm going to say, really, is this legit? Second one, they're like, oh, it's Krystal again. She still got that buyer. Third week, they're like, well, it's funny you tucked us because we were just talking about doing something. You're like, oh, great. So the third time is where the charm is, right?
Yeah.
Because I get agents that said, oh, I tried that and it didn't work. But I'm like, did you do it right?
Did you
Right?
do
So I'll
research?
find out the letter was
No.
branded. Well, what happens to letters that are branded? It's junk mail, goes into the
Yeah.
blue bin,
Rip it
gone.
up.
Right? So I check on that. If did you do it unbranded? They can't help themselves. They got to put their branding all over everything. They got to make it pretty. And they're like, don't. It's just plain paper. Like I just hit your car in the parking lot and put a note on your hood of your car that I bumped you in the parking
Yep.
lot. It's exactly that simple, right? And go not once, but twice, but the third time. Really, that's not stalking them. You got to understand how the consumer and the behavior of humans works and think about that. That first time I'm going to call that it's fake. Second one, you're like, oh, third one, you're like, funny, you tucked us. We were
Yeah.
just having the conversation. So
Yeah.
do it more than one time, 3 weeks in a row, you actually get a lot more calls.
And here's the thing, guys, like as you're listening to this, you know what's a lot easier than going and tucking letters and putting some effort out? And it's just sitting and hoping that your phone rings or
Right,
buying a lead. But
right,
that's not really going to get you business, right? You
right.
can get it like there's something that's a tangible way right there to go and get business.
And I think that's something that I'm big on is that agents that are creating and proactive versus waiting and reactive are
Yeah.
that's the shift. These are the proactives and the
Yeah.
creators, and here are the waiters and the passives and that's the problem.
Yeah. What did you say at the beginning? Killing it and being
They're
killed.
killing it or getting killed.
Yeah.
Killed, killing it, killed.
And it's your choice.
Creating,
Yeah.
waiting, right? Kill it or
Yep.
being killed, create or wait. Your call.
Absolutely. And I mean, and I
Your
think
call.
if you have a system, so I tend to not love the door knocking. I'm interested in the letter tucking though, I will say.
Right.
Maybe not when there's a
Yeah,
blizzard
because
outside.
I'm eliminating the fear of human knocking and talking and doing
Yeah.
that. So I've eliminated that. Now you can't even use that as an excuse because
And
I'm terrified of knocking and safety and I don't want to talk to
yeah.
people. So I've eliminated all that now.
Yeah, just
You
tuck and
can't go
go.
for a walk and tuck
Yeah.
and get exercise and take your dog?
Yeah.
So
Tuck
one of
it
my
up.
coaching clients, I got to tell you the story. This lady in Langley, her name's Jen, and she's like fighting me all the time, right? And I'm like, Jen, you're a runner and you got a dog, right? So take your dog, go for a jog. She does this townhouse complex. First time she trusts me and does it, and that she gets two listing appointments from the letter tucks in the townhouse complex, and she's like, "You gotta be kidding me, man! Like seriously, I've been fighting you for how many months in this to do this and
Yeah.
that." And I said, "I don't want you to knock. I don't want you to chitty chat. I just want you to tuck and go for a walk and that and take your dog."
Yeah.
Bang. Two appointments,
I love it. I
right?
love it. Is there a time that's good? Afternoon, morning, nighttime?
Whenever you're better at walking.
I like it, guys. This is good.
Like you gotta overthink it and just get it and send it
Yeah,
and do it and get out there and implement it,
I
right?
love that.
Yeah.
I've been doing something called the Alphabet Challenge. So this is from the core training in the US.
Yeah.
And I knew about it, but I totally forgot about it. Like 10 years ago, I had found out. So basically, you take your entire database, and it takes a long time the first time. You divide it in like you have like 26 letters in the alphabet. There's 52 weeks in the year. So every week, you're reaching out to everyone who has like the letter A.
Okay.
I'm doing first names, it could be last names, however you want it. But this year it's harder because I have like 15 years of people, so I'm having to
Yes.
requalify. But starting next year, I there's a way for you to touch your whole database twice in a year with people that like maybe you haven't talked to them in like 3 or 4 years. And I'm actually getting great reactions from it.
Hmm.
But that's the thing, it is way easier just to hope that someone like to put out an advertisement and hope someone calls me.
Right.
But the effort you're putting out to connecting with people
Right.
really helps.
Well, and I shared that statistic with that terrifies me at NAR with the National Association of Realtors conference. That is that something shifted with humans and behavior and all of us in that in 2021. And so the data they're saying is statistically that there's an 87% chance that they aren't using you again.
Yeah.
Because your client is being inundated with messages and things like that from this all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not that they didn't like your experience in Krystal and that, but you're out of sight, out of mind. And
You
they're
have
being
to
inundated
keep
with
that space.
communications and things like you got to be on that relationship
Yeah.
like a dog on the bone, whether you like it or
Yeah.
not, right? Because there's an 87% chance now that they're not inadvertently are going to use someone else, not because the attrition rate is huge and the retention rate is devastating right now. So you cannot assume, ask you and me, that they are going to call you again and that you have a
Yeah.
relationship with them. That so
You have to
the
keep it up.
communication and the interaction and checking in and doing all that is imperative now, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
It is huge. And the thing is, like, we do real estate, so of course we're always thinking about real estate. Your clients thought about real estate while they were buying or selling. Now they have a whole other
Oh
stress of
yeah.
like you are if you want to even have like a spot on the table, you
Yes.
need to stay in touch, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And people, agents are like, oh, I don't want to bug people. You are not bugging people.
No.
You are adding value and staying top of mind,
Yeah.
right? You're
And we
adding
can be
value and staying
authentic.
top of mind. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And just checking in. Like we're in the relationships business.
Yeah.
That's where, right? And I thank you for, by the way, for your audit tip and that. Like, who are you texting? Who are you
Yeah.
messaging that? Like, because that's and make sure they're in your database because
Yeah.
obviously, you're texting them frequently and you're messaging them frequently, and
Yeah.
that there's some sort of relationship there,
Yeah.
right? Now, are they in your database and are they in there? And then who are you not texting? Who are you not messaging? And that, because that should be all of the people that are in there and that, and
Yeah.
that. And so, again, you've got to be proactive and create an opportunity and be right. And I was also challenged most agents is that guys, think about when you are communicating, is what you're communicating being expected or is it unexpected? So are you and I'm not picking on certain airlines, but are you charging for every piece of luggage? Are you charging for the peanuts? Are you putting them in the back seats and that, or are you delivering the unexpected and making them
Yes.
feel like they're a first class passenger on your airline, right? And that
100%.
where's the wow factor in what you're delivering, what you're
Yeah.
doing, right? No disrespect, but newsletter statistics, all that stuff that's expected. So, what are you giving them unexpected that gives them that wow factor that makes them
Yep.
want to insist you and
Yeah.
tell a story about you, right?
Yep. And the thing is, guys, so a couple things. Number one, Wade just mentioned the audit. So I've talked about this before, but if you're like, what are you talking about? So every person you know should be in your database. Whatever database you use is the best one, but use the database and do what I do. And I mean, I've been at this 15 years. Wade has been on it at it longer. Go and just randomly pick a message that you've been sending. Check and see if they're in your database. Even now, for me, I will check sometimes and then I'm like, oh, they're not in there. Or, oh, I forgot to log that call. And so you can't track what you don't have, right? So you have no
Right.
idea. Um, and then the other thing though is just as far as like I said with the that alphabet challenge, the key is just you're always qualifying people. Like,
Right.
so if you're reaching out to someone and you find out like you get a bounce back on their email or their phone's not the same phone number anymore, get rid of them. If you like try to find them, but
Yes.
right, like you don't need just to have a name in there. You want it's a relationship.
Yeah. We spend 8 times more money, effort, and time getting them than we do keeping them.
Yes. Yes. Like just spend the time to keep that connection alive. Yeah,
Right.
because
And then
having
and
it
then and
it's
get
so
over that I don't want to bug them.
yeah,
That's what we do. We
that's
are in the
the job.
relationships people business. That's our job. Like we're not bugging anybody, right? How do I add value? How do I stay top of mind? And how do I deliver them the unexpected?
Yes. Yes. Okay, so Wade, if you were going to either give yourself or a new agent a few takeaways that you feel really would have helped you, or you think are kind of things that can really help someone's business, um, or their business life, whatever, what would you say are a few takeaways that you think are key?
Interesting. If you asked me this question 20, 30 years ago, it would be a different answer today. But one thing I do know that has shifted or pivoted and is become important starting out and to build things that is this one saying, visibility trumps ability. So
I like
content
it. Okay.
and being visible. How are they watching me, reading me, hearing me, listening to me and doing that. And so
Yeah.
visibility trumps ability. I'll share a quick story. So there's a young gentleman in my organization and realtors are like, "Man, the guy must be just killing it." Well, he was rookie of the year, and let's just say his production was okay. I'm just being kind,
Yeah.
but from his content and from his visibility and everything else, that the perception is that he is crushing it. That being said, now after 1 year, he ended up landing developments and contracts and listings for projects and development in his like just in his first year, at the end of his first year, and they're like, holy crap! But he's visible and he's
Yeah.
out there and nobody knows that he's brand new and nobody knows that he's not really that good yet, right? And
Yeah.
he's creating that exposure and that visibility and that. And so I think you can't fight that, right? You
Right.
cannot ignore that. With that said, the visibility is important because they don't know whether you're any good or not. But secondly, there's you gotta be putting out content that is pull, not push. So the
Interesting.
content,
Okay.
the difference between pull content and push content. So there's today 107,000 agents put a Canva infographic 2.25 out today,
Yep.
which drives me absolutely bat crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because every consumer out there is like, so what and what's in it for me?
What does it mean? Yeah.
Right? And so we're making a ton of noise. It's all the same boring shit. It's not pull, it's all push, and there's so much noise and everything else in that. So here's what you have to understand. You have to understand what is the consumer thinking? What content are they looking for? What are they worried about? What are they afraid of? What are the challenges they're having? What are the questions or the myths or the understandings that the buyers and sellers are having in your marketplace? That is what's going on in their heads when it comes to buying and selling real estate. So your content needs to be pull content that goes, yeah, I'm thinking the same thing, click. Yeah, I'm wondering about the same thing, click, and that, right? So pull content, not push content. There's no shortage of push. It's all push. There's so much push and there's very little pull content, right? Like I'll say the number one thing that a seller wants to know and wants to know is that how do you manage certain time frames with them selling their home? So there's an NAR audit. I showed you that in that workshop. There's that audit of those categories and those topics that people are
Yeah.
saying that they want to know. The number one thing that a seller wants to know is how do you manage specific sellers' time frames in selling their home? That's the number one thing surveyed that people want to know from a seller standpoint. Do you see
Nice.
anybody that's put content out based on that?
No.
Nobody, right? And that is a survey that says
Maybe me
that's the number.
tomorrow. Wait. Maybe me
Right.
tomorrow.
Exactly.
I
But
like
that's
that.
the number one thing surveyed that North Americans want to know
Yeah.
is how does a listing agent navigate specific time frames and expectations on a seller's timing and that with the sale of their home and that. And I've never seen anybody put that content out. And that's the number one topic that was surveyed in North America last year that a seller was looking for. Right. And a
Interesting.
buyer was their number one content is that how do you help me with the process of elimination with so much inventory and so many pairs of shoes on the shoe shelf and that? How do you help us navigate the process of elimination on selecting the right appropriate property for what we're doing for, right? And that's
Yeah.
what buyers are looking for in that. And how much content is out there? No, 107,000 agents today put out 2.25.
That's crazy.
Right? And there's not what we're not understanding what the consumers are, right? So think about these questions. The consumer, how can I? How should I? How do I? Right? And put the buyer's question at the end of that, and there's your content for pull.
I love it.
Right? How do I? How can I? How should I? And that, and then think about what is going on with the fears, challenge, and things like that with buyers and sellers in your marketplace. That's the content they're looking for, the pull. Now, I'm going to add one little nugget here and one maraschino
Yeah.
cherry there is that you're not only putting content out, but make sure there's contact capturing happening with the content. So why put
Okay.
out content when there's no contact capturing? So provide a resource guide in exchange for their information that is relevant to the content you're putting out.
Right.
Contact capture,
I love this.
right? So visibility trumps ability and pull content, not push content, and contact capture to that content. And
Yeah.
remember, 87% of consumers now are switching up. So veterans, be very afraid.
Yes. I
And
think,
rookies and newbies, the opportunity for client and relationship market share takeover is at an all-time high in 2026.
yep. And I think I love that. And I think one of the things, and this is where I'll hear from agents a lot, especially if they've come from a team or if they have a situation where they're getting leads, there is almost I don't want to say that they're not grateful, but it's almost like, well, I'm so good at what I do and it's great. You can be fantastic at what you do, but if you don't have anyone to sell to, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah,
Like you can be the
yeah,
best salesperson in the world, but if you have
right,
no clients,
right.
it like
So
it really
your
doesn't.
focus should be product accumulation,
Yes,
inventory accumulation, and relationship accumulation,
yes,
nonstop.
focus completely, and that's
That's it.
that's our
That's your
job.
focus, right? And
Obviously, keep it,
retention, and now retention
yeah,
of the
keep the skills
relationships now.
sharp. Make sure you're learning, but you have to figure out how to get that
Yeah.
pipeline.
Yeah. And then I think now this is a professionals market and a skills-based market. I love this market. I love
Yes,
this economy. I love this time. This is
yes,
where the skilled thrive and everybody else barely survives because you need skills. You need to know
do.
what to do. You need to know what to say, how to say it. You need to be switching up your questioning skills and things and that, and changing things and modifying things and that it's always changing and shifting in that and the pros and the learners are the earners every time.
I love
Learners
that.
are earners
Look at all
every
these like
time,
sound clips. This is so
right?
good.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that, and that's it's always been that way. The learners are the earners. They're
Yes,
not lucky. They're learning. They're
they took a
sharpening.
lot of
They're
time.
evolving in that,
Yeah,
and they're shifting and pivoting in that. Learners are the earners every time.
I love that. Okay, so Wade, I can't believe we're almost out of time, but if someone wants to reach out to you because they had a little snippet here, but they just need more, what's the best way to reach out to you?
So they can go on my weekly blog and on the video on and get content on that regularly at agentsboost.com.
Agentsboost.com.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then they can reach out through me, through Royal LePage Kelowna, through my email address or and that and call the office here, no problem anytime and that. Yeah, I mean, there every single week there is nuggets like this going out
Yeah,
on that content every Wednesday. So, and so
amazing.
it's my way of putting back into the business and the universe and something
Yeah,
that I love more than anything in the world. And that my
I
wife
love
says, I
that.
wish I was a Montreal Canadian or a real estate transaction because you love them both more than anything in the world, right? And that, even though we got killed last night, the Habs, but that's okay. But
I'm
at the end
also
of
a
the day,
Habs fan. I get it.
yes, yeah. So at the end of the day, like there's so much content there that I've been putting out for over 10 years that like that's just my gift to the industry that's been so good to me.
I love that so much. I do have to say, because my brain's not going to shut it down, um, being in Penticton and then Kelowna, how did you become a Montreal Canadiens fan? I was born in Montreal.
So I always use the same thing that God reached down and touched me and said, "Rise up, you're a Montreal Canadiens fan." So you can't see this in my office, but I swear to God, there's a picture of me with a Habs jersey in 1975 on the wall of my office here with a Bobby Orr doll in front of the Christmas tree.
I
And in
love it.
behind me, you can't see this, but there's a shrine to Montreal in behind me here in my office and that. So people walk in and they're like, "Habs fan." Hey? And I'm like, "Oh yeah, go Habs, go." For sure.
That's
For
fun.
and my wife's like, "Oh
I
my gosh, every year we're going to the cup. Every year you say the same thing." And I'm like, "Honey, we are. We're going to the cup. This is the year. I just don't know if it's this year. Where we're going."
That's
Die hard.
amazing.
Yeah, so I was anointed and chosen. Not everybody is
Love it.
chosen, right? You
That's
and I were
good.
chosen to be Habs fans. That's
There
just
it is. That's
there
the
it is.
key.
We're chosen.
That
Yep,
is
not
the key.
everybody can be one.
They can't. They can't. Unfortunately, there's there's
We're
some
we're
Leafs fans
we're a
out there.
special breed fan.
My
Yeah,
dad was a Habs fan. That's actually why I'm a Habs fan. And now he lives like next to he lives in downtown Toronto. So he is
right in the
he's
epicenter of
a bit of a
of the
Leafs
of the
fan.
enemy. Yeah.
I say it quietly because we're hoping it changes. But
That's awesome. So my sister and my daughter both live in Montreal, and so my daughter actually got Cold Caulfield to FaceTime me at home from a nightclub in Montreal a couple of years ago. She's like,
well,
"Dad, I have a gift for you here," and it's Cold Caulfield FaceTiming me at home on a Saturday night in Kelowna, and
did you
he's
like
like, "Hey,
lose your
how you
mind?
doing?" Right? And I'm like, "Best gift ever," right? Kind
That's
of thing. So it
amazing.
was pretty cool. And then in April, we were just in Montreal, and he was in a restaurant, a steak place. And my daughter walked over and he goes, "Oh, yeah, I remember. Is your dad here?" And I, so we came in and sat at the dinner table with them. So
Yes,
Liney and Caulfield and Dvorak and all of them were at a restaurant in the steak restaurant in the East End in the village in Montreal. And we sat down, had a drink with them, and visited with them. It was so cool.
that's
So cool.
fantastic. That's
Yeah.
the dream. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for
Yeah.
you. Well, Wade, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a great
Pleasure.
conversation. Guys, please reach out to Wade if you have other questions. And as always, if there's any topic that you're interested in that we haven't covered, let me know in the comments. And I will leave you guys with this is Krystal Lee Lucier, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor. This was Realtor Life. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.